Oh, and we're back again this week. Mandalorian episode 5? 6?
No, 6. 6.
Gun and run or something. I'm so disillusioned with the whole Mandalorian now. I can't even be bothered to remember the name of the episode. It's so forgettable.
It was Guns for Hire.
Guns for Hire. Right, there we go. I mean, I think you can tell by my demeanour what my response to this episode is going to be like. But to play devil's advocate, let's see what did you think of it? Go.
Confused. I don't know if I laughed at the right bits, which always leaves me wondering how well the episode did if I walk away with that feeling after watching it.
Yeah, you have no idea. Is this supposed to be? Is it a comedy now? Is it just that they've given up and they've thought, you know what, fuck it, let's just throw random cameos and let's do all the cameos in one episode, completely devoid again from anything to do with a story. Just throw cameos at it. This is like when they had to give the kings bad news in the years gone by, and they would send in the jester to try and soften the blow. I think, is this them telling us that the Mandalorian is basically cancelled? And
well, the thing that got me the most with this episode is what they could have done is this could have been episode 3, and it could have been a bit of light-hearted relief. It could have been, a not so serious episode. However, I just feel with the gravity of the main plot, this was just shoehorned in as some kind of light-hearted comedic relief. Well, I mean, yeah, like that's what got me. It's not even. This is all over the place. Is the only way I can describe it so far, and it's not just myself, but my wife and somebody else I spoke to about it as well. They said the same thing. It's just they're so disappointed with this season now. That it's like they're trying all the bad things just because they were so popular. They thought, oh, we'll get away with anything now.
Now, I had a theory coming out of this episode that obviously the main criticism of it so far, not just this. I mean, this episode addresses the balance slightly around Mandalorian being the central character. Yeah, he's at least one of the top 2 characters in his own show this week. But in general, in the series, he's basically been a sideline character. And my theory is that essentially Pedro Pascal has had no time because he's been doing The Last of Us. So they only had, and I figure only recently realised, I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but it's not even Pedro Pascal in the Mandalorian armour. It's a bunch of different stunt actors, right? So he's just there to do the voice, like the post, what do they call it? I can't remember. It's not DNR, and something that basically does the voice acting afterwards. So he's not there. So I'm wondering if his schedule for this year was so tied up with The Last of Us that they just didn't have him enough, and they were desperate to get it filmed and get it out there. So they've essentially just decided to take whatever they could from him and just shoehorn him into the background so that they don't have to worry about getting Pedro.
Well, the problem with that is that they're really shooting themselves in the foot with the quality of the show, and they've
taken a risk, and they've taken a risk, and it's a gamble, and it's failed.
Yeah, I mean, I think I liked the premise of the episode with the thought of they're going to do something else before they get to the guns for hire, the ones that basically run away after she lost, what was it, the Darksaber.
Oh yeah, don't even start on the Darksaber.
And I was like, all right, okay, we're gonna have a bit of a change in pace. This could be good because I saw the episode length. and we meet Lizzo and Jack Black, and fair enough, they're supposed to be kind of light-hearted characters to try and, I don't know, contrast with the rest of the season so far. The first thing that got me though is they walk in and they're like, oh, look at our society, nobody has to work, all the robots are going funny. And then they were like, but you need to speak to the person who's in charge of all the robots. And I just thought to myself, well, your society's not that good that you still have somebody that has a job.
Yeah.
Instantly, I was like, well, the whole thing's been shattered. Why don't you have AI, running it all? Why don't you have other robots in charge? No, it's a person. And then when you first seen her, I was like, I said to my wife, I was like, that's Christopher Lloyd, and she was like, no. I was like, that's Christopher Lloyd there, in charge of all the robots and that. And then she was like, oh my god. And we spent so long talking about films that he had done, we actually forgot we were watching the TV. And then we rewound it, and then they go down the elevator to the what do they call them again?
It was like Bojacks or something. Right?
Oh no, Bojacks or something like that. Yeah, and whatever it is, and they go down. And honestly, at that point, my wife just turned around and went, "Oh my god, this is a Skyrim side quest episode, isn't it?" And I was like, "Mm-hmm, this is it. We're just gonna follow. There's gonna be no kind of twists and turns really, other than go to this person, go to that person, go to this person, go back to the first person because they were the one that, all along." And the rest of the episode was just going, oh, it'll be Christopher Lloyd. And sure enough, it was Christopher Lloyd. No. And then they went, oh, let's do the kind of they've done it. They've made everybody happy again. Now they're going to get to go and visit the rest of her fleet and get her ships back and stuff like that. And then it was like the fight scene, and I'm like, what is this? What is this all about? And then it's like, oh, here, whoa, hang on, was it the Darksaber first? No, that was it. They did the fight. He was like, oh, I never live up, and then you'll never live up to it. And he's like, oh, here, you see how you killed the person that had me captive? Here's your sword back. And they went, oh yeah, this is good. Honestly, do you know what I actually thought at the very end? It was like Lego Star Wars. It was just like such an absurd kind of, they all clapped at the end and were like, ooh, we're all back to normal again. And I was just like, no, I'm not done with it, but I'm a bit like, that was so weak. Like, yeah,
it was pathetic. It's the only way to describe it. Yeah. It's pathetic. And actually, I think it's not quite a side quest. It's actually like, as in my mind, it's a really crappy DLC that you've downloaded and you start while you're still doing the main quest. You start it and then you realise it's only like 2 hours long. You finish it and you realise that was pointless, and you go back to the main quest right at the end and you've forgotten everything about it.
And do you know what the worst bit about that DLC is once you've started the DLC, you can't go back to the main game. You've got to complete it, and then you get to go back. And that's exactly what happened to them. They started the DLC, and then they realised, oh no, we're going to have to finish this, guys, before we get to go back into the main plot.
We didn't read the warning saying you can't go back until you finish this. But I just thought the whole thing was super... it was just super disappointing. Like, we got the bit right at the start where you saw the Mandalorians, like Bo-Katan's old clan, and I thought, okay, cool, it was them. Clearly, they're setting it up that it was them that rescued Moff Gideon. Still no Moff Gideon in the episode, by the way. A massive fail. We've only got 2 episodes left. So, anyway, they sort of painted up that they were the ones that probably rescued Moff Gideon. For whom? Not sure yet. But they're just mercenaries, right? So they went and did it.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, they're clearly marked as mercenaries. We're going to go and find them. And then we go to the planet. I'm not even sure how she knows they're at the planet. But she does. And it's like, you can see the fleet. It's like, they even tease in the episode, like, oh, you can see the fleet. There's the main story over there. But no, we're taking you to control of your story and turning it on its head. And you can see it, but you're not going to go there yet. No, you have to suffer through this. random rogue AI robots bullshit for half an hour. Oh, and look, there's Jack Black. You're like, what? Why are we here? As soon as Jack Black came on, I just knew that this episode was over, and I kind of knew in my heart that season was over. It's nothing to do against Jack Black.
See,
I love Jack Black.
I also recognised Lizzo as well because my wife really likes Lizzo, and I recognised that. I recognised them at the long shot as they were walking into the banquet hall, and I thought, I'm going to be honest, I didn't think their performances were bad. Or Christopher Lloyd.
I like Jack Black.
It's probably unpopular. Oh, I was going to say the unpopular opinion is I didn't think the cameos were bad acting. I think they were failed by the timing in the season where they were put in.
It's the wrong place for those actors. If it was a
second or third episode, you're still getting the season up and running. But as you just reminded me, there's only a couple of episodes left.
There's two.
The time for a light-hearted cameo. Yeah, there's 2 episodes left. The time for a light-hearted cameo episode, for a bit of, bit of a spin-off or a bit of a, spice things up a bit or just change things up a bit. That, to me, that time is gone, and I'm still like, I was actually thinking, so wait a minute, hang on. I'm getting this episode now, but we also mucked about a few episodes ago with that weird long episode of Coruscant, with the ex
Imperials.
Ex Imperials, thanks. And I'm like, so plot when's it going to happen?
I mean, it's just, there's 2 episodes left. Do you even know who the baddie is? Like the main villain or the main threat of the story? Do you know who it is? I don't.
No. And then there's been so many opportunities to even add like a kind of background plot, to just keep things ticking over, but they haven't done anything like that. And then I'll be honest, I think a lot of the things with that episode that kept me happy was, I think the cameos did all right. There was a bit of action that wasn't too cheesy, and I think it ended at the right time, is my kind of summary of that episode, if I'm honest. Other than that, I'm really disappointed. I'm just disappointed in it as a whole. A whole season, I'm just really disappointed.
Yeah, no, I totally mirror that. It's like the episode just felt to me like when they were writing the season, they had no idea what the season overall arc of the season was going to be. They wrote a bunch of small episodes, and then they went at the end. They had all these little episodes. They went back and said, "Oh, let's try and do a little bit in each episode, which might like give you a little plot." So essentially, you get 5 minutes at the end of each episode that drives a main plot home, because they just really had no plan. And that's what this episode felt like. It just felt like it had no plan. Yeah. Like the cameos were great. It's like, see, I like Jack Black. I think Jack Black's really funny. However, Jack Black is always just Jack Black. Yeah, he can't help it, right? And I was just I was expecting him at some point to whip out a guitar and go like, and like, oh my god, see if he does that, I am actually going to turn this off, because I cannot handle that. And to be fair, I didn't recognize Lizzo, because she's not someone I recognized. But then Christopher Lloyd came in, and I thought, that's cool. I really like Christopher Lloyd, because I think he's just brilliant, and I'm glad he's still alive, if I'm honest. That's kind of what I'm at. I'm glad he's still alive and kicking. His whole story made no sense, though. Like, in fact, I mean, none of the story made sense. None of the bits in it made sense at all. But it was still sort of enjoyable.
What got me about all that, was the fact that it was almost like a Family Guy sketch. Was it like, did you get the Clone Wars reference? The Clone Wars reference. Count Clone Wars. Like, do you get it? Do you get it? We've mentioned the Clone Wars. Like, yes, we get it. The fans that know all the canon and all that will get the thing. Whereas to most people like my wife, they're like, what's the big speech about? Like, and then the like kind of mentioned, oh right, okay, that. So this thing they made a big song and dance about for probably, I would say probably half the people are watching it that are into Star Wars. I was a bit like, okay, we get it. I get the Clone Wars. Ooh, you mentioned Count Dooku. Yeah, I get it. Right, okay, you can stop going on about it. Oh, right, okay, you're really going to spell it out for me now. That was my impression of that. I was like, stop spelling it out for me. I can pick up on things. To me, a sign of a good show like The Mandalorian is the people that need to get the references will get the references. People that are just watching The Mandalorian because they know a bit about Star Wars should also be able to enjoy it. If there's things
Absolutely.
that people need to know, you need to spell those things out. I get it. But you don't need to remind me you're in the Star Wars universe. You can mention things, and as I said, if people need to know it, you should tell them. If not, the people that are fans will pick up on it, and they'll appreciate the nod to whatever it is.
Yeah, and I feel pained in saying this, and it's not a sentence I thought I'd say 2 years ago, but this is the same situation that Star Trek Picard is in. And Star Trek Picard is doing it right. It allows people who are new to this series to watch it, but people who watched TNG in the past will get a bit more of enjoyment out of it. And the same thing happened with the sequel films. I think they're the sequel films. When they realised after the second film and then they got into The Last Jedi that literally nobody cared about the plot like Rey and Finn and the other new ones, that they thought, well, fuck, let's just go back to remember Han Solo, remember Chewie, remember all the other good Star Wars characters. And this is kind of what they were doing here. They're like, remember Dooku, he was cool, and remember these battle droids from Naboo, they're cool, right? They're funny, they're little funny wee ones. But
that was the thing as well, like trying to explain, like, because as I said, like people who know Star Wars will recognize the droids and recognize even the armor that the guards were wearing, in the banquet hall. They were clone troopers without the helmets, but with like big colourful cloth on them and stuff like that. I get, what they're trying to say. They're an independent nation, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, as I said, like if you're doing a show like this, hat tip and nod. I'm not saying don't do that, but don't spend so much time explaining everything, because I'll be honest, like the wife turned around and went, why did he do all of that with the robots?
Yeah, I don't understand why he did.
And
I don't understand why he did it. What was the aim?
Well, he was a separatist. He wanted to like he was trying to relive the separatist ways.
But why didn't he just shut them down?
Why
didn't he just shut down all the droids?
Why did he go to all the trouble with the spicy oil?
So see, the thing is,
oh god, what was it called again? What was it? Oil?
Living program oil or something like neural.
Was it Nipafaru or something? Niparu or
right? So there's a bunch of things which made no sense in this episode, and I'm going to change the format this slightly. I don't think we should go through it necessarily in order, but all the things I thought made no sense whatsoever. One, the security guard was the main villain. Spoilers. But his plot made absolutely no sense. It made no sense whatsoever.
No sense.
The battle droid, when Mandalorian's kicking them to like get them to react, and you're like, at some point, I mean, you're just kicking them. Like, surely, and then he's going to react. Why did the droid run away? What was he? He's running away. He was running away like a drug addict was being chased by some cops. Why was a battle droid running away from these people? Like, that made no sense whatsoever.
Surely, if the robot was smart enough to do that, would the robot not think, oh, hang on a minute, they're trying to rumble me. They're trying to figure out who I am.
Yeah.
I'll just pick up the box and be normal.
Yeah, but so the droid runs away, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I actually laughed. I thought, this is ludicrous. And then
did you for a split second? And I just want to say, during that running scene, by the way,
yeah.
I don't know about you, but you just reminded me. Did you not think it was very Cyberpunk 2077?
Yes.
Like, the vibe that they were trying to grab from that was like not very original. It didn't feel like Star Wars. It felt like cyberpunk.
It felt a bit like Blade Runner. Like,
Blade Runner and all that.
He was and they were chasing down like one of the synthoids or whatever they're called in Blade Runner. But it's like you're a fucking massive battle droid. Nobody's confusing you for a human, right? So that made no sense. And then she shot it with two guns, and it insta died. He's like, okay, what?
Yeah.
And then it had these droids go to a bar after work to drink some sort of weird synthetic oil. What? They're droids. Surely they either work constantly, or they go to like in Futurama where Bender goes to his home, which is a cupboard.
Nefaru,
yeah. It's like,
that was it.
But then surely they just go to a cupboard, turn off, and then wait for their next shift. I don't even understand why they have shifts. They're droids. They should just be working constantly. Is that the whole point of them? So that made no sense.
But that was the thing. Oh, we don't want the humans to not want us because some of us have been here since the Separatist days and they will decommission us. So we want you to fight. Hang on a minute. Whoa. So you recognise there's a problem? Mm-hmm. Okay, so why haven't you gone and fixed it, droids?
Or told someone, yeah.
Well, here's the batch of the stuff they drank.
Well, funny.
Drank,
injected.
All
the droids that went bad drank from this same batch. Oh, right. Could that
but
be
we
the plan?
kept providing it.
Yeah,
but they what was it? What was it like? Was that supposed to be? What did they call it? Was it a scratch pad or something?
Yeah, it was like.
Was that supposed to be the equivalent of like a matchbook? You know, from an old American film. Oh, we found a matchbook on him. You know, that goes to this motel.
It's like they were trying to do some sort of cyber noir crime story, like
that's it.
And it's like
that's it. That's what they were trying to do. It took us that long to figure out.
And it's like it just doesn't make any sense at all. And then they walk into this bar and they're not used to seeing our kind here. It's like, what the fuck is going on? I didn't understand if it was a comedy or not.
But that was actually one of the bits where they all turned and then they were like looking at it, and I was like, is this supposed to be funny? And then it was like, oh yeah, they don't get many of our kind around here. And I'm like, was that a punchline? Am I supposed to be laughing? And it's like, oh, I would be more forgiving. I'd be more forgiving with this episode, I think, if the rest of the season had just basically continued the formula and kept the main story running with a bit of kind of cowboy western / pirate action in between.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then this light-hearted episode, I would have been like, all right, okay, they tried something new, that's it. But it's honestly, they are throwing things now, and they're just looking at the wall, and they're just seeing what sticks.
Yeah,
you had the Coruscant episode, you had this one, and you're just like, what? What are you doing?
If this had been just an episode halfway through the season, and it was like a break from the main story because we'd had a lot of main story, it was a fun little detour, I would have thought, yeah, great. Nice wee pacing change.
I probably would have welcomed it.
Yeah, I would have thought, that works. A nice wee pacing change. The episode's ridiculous, but it's a wee change of pace from the main intense story. Give me a time to sort of reset, and then I'll continue on. But this is just it's been the formula for every episode. So,
yeah.
It's like going down a motorway and stopping at every service station. And you're like, can I not just go? I don't need to see all the ducks, you know?
No, that's a good analogy though, because it's like you know we get going, and then we stop again, and once we kind of recover from that, we start going again, and we've seen that with all the episodes, except all I'm going to say is the Coruscant episode. Somehow we accidentally stayed overnight at the service station.
Yeah, we got really confused there.
Yeah.
But,
why are they changing the episode lengths as well? That's another thing that they're doing that just makes no sense. That one was a longer episode. Why? Why was that a longer episode?
I'm okay with like the different length episodes where it's appropriate. So you don't like... That's the beauty of streaming, right? So you don't have to fill 45 minutes when you've only got half an hour of story. or so you can do a half-hour story, then an hour and 10-minute story, or whatever. But it does seem like that didn't need to be 45 minutes or whatever it was, because it didn't even need the middle bit, like, at all. So it does feel like they're just trying to add. They've got all this footage that they filmed of Jack Black and of Lizzo, and they're like, let's just use it. And they did. Baby Yoda did that stupid flip again. The stupid flip across the table.
Oh, I laughed. I actually laughed. I was like, oh, what? And then I realised, oh, hang on, that was like a kind of serious thing. And I was like, oh, God.
Yeah.
I was like, why? I honestly, I actually now at the point where I feel sorry for the cameo actors, because they did such a good job, but just the way they bolted this episode in just made no sense to me.
Yeah, and at the end, I didn't care.
Don't get it.
I didn't care about the Christopher Lloyd plot and how it resolved. To be honest, he got exiled to some moon or some shit. Who cares? Nobody cares. It's all pointless. We're never going to see.
Because at that bit, it was like, here's the key to the city. I'm like, come on. I want to get through some plot. I want to see the mercenaries. I want her to meet up with her. Okay, right? Yes, you've knighted Grogu. Right, keep going. Hurry up. Because I'm looking at my watch, going, well, I know this episode's only this amount of long. We've only got. And yeah, the final bit to me just seemed tagged on, just tapped onto the end.
So what did you think of the final, the actual only bit of real plot? What did you think of that? What did you make of that?
Oh, so they killed the thing that took me prisoner. Therefore, they get the big shiny sword. Why didn't this get sorted out beforehand?
Yeah, like why did she have to fight the guy? Why did she have to fight the guy when she was going to take control?
She could have just turned up with it. Yeah, exactly. She could have just turned up with the Darksaber, and then they could have continued the plot. Or, for instance, I actually thought at the end, I thought they were going to say, "Oh yeah, we rescued Moff Gideon," and now I couldn't remember enough. Did they know who Moff Gideon is, other than?
They weren't on the. I don't think they were on the ship when he got captured, but they were part of the plan, I believe. So they. Yes,
so they know who Moff Gideon is.
Yeah.
So my thought was that they were basically going to turn around and go, all right, pretend the fight didn't happen. I thought the most of that plot was, all right, yeah, we'll join you again, but by the way, we were paid by X person to release Moff Gideon. And it probably is going to be that lassie back on Coruscant who's still in love with the Empire and all that kind of thing. And she somehow got the credits to pay them. And I was hoping that was going to be them turning around going, oh yeah, so-and-so did that. So-and-so paid us to release Moff Gideon, and us, we're loyal, we follow the caps. And then that was going to be the dun-dun moment, and then run credits.
I assumed that he was going to say, we have a new leader now, and that Moff Gideon was going to come out. He was going to say, well, we've got a new leader now, here's Moff Gideon, he's not paying us. But they didn't. I was like, okay, that's fine. They've released him for somewhere else. But then they have this stupid fight with Bo-Katan and Axeman, or whatever his stupid name is. And it's like
Axe Wolf, is it not?
Axe Wolf or something like that. And she's firing rockets at the other Mandalorians, just wildly. And then the whole thing was pointless, because if all it takes is for someone to say I challenge you, you just be people getting challenged all the time. Surely you just wait for her to get tired after that fight and go, right, I challenge you now. Or is there a time limit they have to wait between challenges?
I actually said that. I said to my wife, I said, how do they actually get anything done in their society? Oh, I'm going to not pay for this loaf of bread. Well, I'm going to challenge you for a fight. Oh, I'm going to take your car. I challenge you for a fight. Not obviously car or something. They're just constantly challenging each other. And people are just watching around going, ooh. But Yeah, me see. The only thing that made me think that it wasn't Moss Gideon that was running things, or was the fact that they made a big point at the start of the episode about being loyal and wanting money. So the fact that they were also defending whatever it was, Planet 15 of whatever it was, made me think. I didn't quite think it was going to be Moss Gideon in charge of them, but I thought they were going to basically go, hey. We're going to join her again. Or not even fight. Just turn around to her and go, oh, hey, how's it going, old boss? We're not going to be with you fight with you anymore still. And even then figure out if they're going to do the Darksaber thing or, fight or whatever. But then at the end, I thought he was going to go, oh, yeah, we've been quite busy. By the way, we rescued Moss Gideon and for so-and-so. But no.
The whole
point, just mucked around.
Yeah, the whole thing with the Darksaber was just an absolute joke. It's kind of representative of the show as a general now. Like, the Darksaber was pointless. The only thing keeping Mandalorian in the show was the Darksaber, and now he literally just gave it away. Like, she hasn't earned. I thought at least they would say, "Let's fight for it. I'm not going to hold back. You're not going to hold back. Whoever wins is basically in charge of all these Mandalorians." And then then you could have some tension built between them. But now it's just like, yeah, you can have it. I don't want it. I suck with it anyway. And you can't even use it. She's brilliant with it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you killed the thing that captured me because I'm fucking useless. I'm literally just taking up space now. So you can have it.
How is he not a proper cool Mandalorian again as well?
He's a foundling.
I've just remembered.
So he was
that
captured.
So he was a foundling as well.
He was captured by the Mandalorians when they invaded and killed his planet. So he was captured and taken as a foundling. So he's not a true-born Mandalorian as such.
That was it, yeah.
So, because I kind of remember when he said that, I was like, oh, hang on a minute. And then I realised, oh yeah, he was also, he was kidnapped by the Mandalorians. These Mandalorians seem like assholes, if I'm honest. I don't know why he wants to be one. But yeah, I mean, the big thing at the end is obviously, well, I mean, the Mandalorian is dead. Like, Din Djarin is dead. He might as well be dead, right? He's dead to me now, because the whole thing with him is there's no way he can be redeemed in the last 2 episodes. There is literally nothing that can make up for the stink that he's gone through of the last 6. Like, I thought if Moff Gideon was like the leader of the Mandalorians, that might give some easy way for them to be a conflict, because they're like, he's running the Mandalorians now, but actually we want them to reunite with our Mandalorians, so I have to fight my own Mandalorian brothers to kill Moff Gideon and thus reunite them all. But no, now they're just like, okay, we join you now. Yeah, is that everything, guys? Yeah, we hated her before because she didn't have the Darksaber, but now that she's turned up and she's been given a Darksaber, so we're cool with that. Everyone's like, yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, and you're like, okay, conflict over. End of episode. Move on to next.
Dun dun
dun dun. It's nothing. Nothing either seems difficult for Bo-Katan. She just turns up and is like, it happens, and then you advance the plot. There's just no conflict anywhere. So I don't get the point of it.
It's almost, I'm almost getting season 8 of Game of Thrones vibes from this. Yeah,
it's like we need to get this finished as quick as possible.
Yeah, and we'll just shoo. Oh, hang on a minute. We've got to do more than 2 episodes. Okay, we'll do a Coruscant episode. Oh, we can play around with lengths. Do you know what will really fuck with them? We'll do an extra long Coruscant episode.
Yes, I think it's like Jon Favreau's like, who have I not worked with that I really like? Jack Black. I like that guy. Let's find a place for him. Does it advance the plot in any way?
I'm holding on to that episode, by the way.
What one?
I'm holding on to that episode. It's got the Coruscant episode. I keep mentioning it because I refuse to believe that episode was for nothing. I honestly, even that episode, I was even watching that episode looking for things that came up in the Coruscant, and still the only thing I can bring up with the Coruscant episode is that it was a long episode that was and the guy who was converted was successfully converted. Therefore, the lassie who still is loyal to Moff Gideon, she was like, "No, we don't want you anymore. You're too far gone. You're too converted. We want rebellious people still. But I refuse to believe that episode was so long for nothing.
But I think it was probably just.
I'm going to be disappointed, aren't I?
You're going to be disappointed. I think you prepare, because that episode was just to introduce her, and they took a huge long way around it. It's like it's almost like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have been told by Disney, you're getting 3 more seeds of The Mandalorian. So they're like, cool, let's just experiment with weird shit for this season. Let's just experiment with episodes, like play with characters, just, whatever, because we're guaranteed season 4 and season 5. And so, if they've got it written in blood from Bob Iger from Disney or whatever, that you're or Kathleen Kennedy, whoever's in charge, that you're definitely getting 2 more seasons. And like, cool, this is fucking brilliant. Let's just do a bunch of magic.
I agree with you,
and do whatever the fuck you want.
The only thing I like your thinking. I agree with you. I like your thinking. However, the only reason I don't think that theory is correct is if they really wanted to fuck about, they would have put the Gungans in, because you know how everybody loves Jar Jar Binks. Could you? Oh my god! Oh, could you imagine if in any of the? No, the Gungans haven't been in any of the Mandalorian episodes, have they? No.
No, I don't think so.
Because they're dropping some slack. Clone Wars. In fact, they've actually made a load of Clone War reference. Or am I making this up? Have they dropped a load of Clone Wars, right? Because you've got the Separatists.
There's millions of Clone Wars like things. It's very Clone War heavy. Presumably this is like just after. I say just after. It's 30 years after the Clone Wars, isn't it? Yeah. It's like at least 25 years after the Clone Wars. So,
yeah,
it's a reasonable amount of time ago, but they do drop a lot of hints about it.
So I think Jar Jar Binks is going to be about.
I'd love that. But the only reason I believe that either they were promised that and they've now been rescinded, because I've read so many articles that because of the poor reception to this season that's it, it's getting cancelled. And I almost agree. I think that either that, and so they decided to go out with a blaze of stupidity. Like this is a you can't do that, Dave Filoni. Hold my beer, sort of moment. And he's just like, I can do it. I can do whatever the fuck I want. But as a whole, the episode was.
It's such a shame.
It is such a shame because it's such a. But it does happen to. It happens to every series, right? Eventually. This has just happened very quickly. I do believe now that part of it is the rising demand of Pedro Pascal's time. You gotta think, when this started 4 years ago, he was a TV actor who had just done a bit of Game of Thrones, so that made him quite popular, Narcos and things like that, but not to the level that he's at now. Yeah,
no,
like. He's now in superstar territory, so like getting him committed for however many seasons, and again he just has to do the APR or the ANP or whatever it is afterwards, the voice stuff afterwards now. But still, you're just going to get less and less Pedro time, and I don't know if they're just trying to get Bo-Katan to the front of the pack now, so that when season 4 comes along and the Mando's is literally not in it at all, people aren't so shocked.
Yeah,
that's my unfortunate theory, I think.
But the thing was, Bo-Katan is a badass. Yeah. She could have her own I'm not saying like don't give her a TV show or anything like that, but just finish off Din's story. If that's the way it's going, like Pedro Pascal, his story is finished, or don't give him a bigger role. Just this is the thing about modern TV and film. Nobody can say nobody can just say it's over, it's done. I honestly feel that, like, Pedro Pascal, it could have just basically been like, yeah, we're done with you now. It's all about Bo-Katan. And it means that the show also, it's not the Mandalorians. So even if it's just Bo-Katan, Mandalorian still counts, and just tell her story. And focus on her being a badass and doing her thing. But yeah, the shoehorning in of the characters, it's just a mess. I think what will happen is one of two things: that this will be the last season, or what will happen is Disney will turn around and go, "You get one more. Fix your shit. Fix it, and see how well it goes." But you know what it's like with writers, and they might just turn around and go, "No, we've had enough."
Exactly. I mean, what I would have liked if this was going to be the last season, which I think it is, and it might even have been planned that way, that you make it shorter, make it like a 3-episode mini-series, and at the end of it, Jin dies. At the end of it, he dies, and he is done. His story is done, and he passes the baton, maybe even literally passes the baton of the Darksaber onto Bo-Katan. But his story is dead. You focused on him. He has a satisfying story. Him and Grogu. Grogu goes off to become a Jedi or whatever. He goes off to do his own thing. But Jin dies. And that is it. His story is complete. And then that would have been a million times more satisfying than watching him slowly be replaced.
I actually thought, when they were on what's the one? The one where the pirates started fighting, and he was asked, do you want to be the lawman? Yeah, that was it. Do you want to be the lawman? I actually thought that was him gonna, like, for lack of it, he was gonna settle down, and he was actually gonna be like, you know what? I'm gonna just look after this place. I've got my land. I've done my travelling, that's it. And then Bo-Katan takes over. And then maybe he comes in and he helps out with something. He's like, oh yeah, for old times. But, it's not all about him. Yeah.
See, I don't know what a happy ending is for him. Like, I don't know what happy ending is for Jin at the moment. When you're watching, say, like Obi-Wan, for example. A happy ending for him was the kids were safe and he was at peace. And you think, his story is complete, he's happy ending. Happy endings for Rey in the movies were knowing who her parents were and defeating Palpatine, right? But happy ending for Jin, like, what is it? What does he want? Like, does he want to just get back with He just seems to go along with whatever the Mandalorian armorer tells him to do. So, does he? Yeah. Because at any point, if he ever said, like, I'm getting tired of, like, this constant running around, I just want to settle down. If he dropped hints, maybe I want to find a wife, or I want to settle down with Grogu on a farm. I just want to have a peaceful life. And you think, okay, you could give him then a happy ending, but he doesn't seem to. There's no motivation for Jin to do anything.
Or just absorb into Mandalorian culture and lifestyle. If Grogu's a foundling, he's training. Just
he doesn't even seem to care about getting Mandalore
just go into
back.
The background.
It's like he doesn't even seem to have this bee in his bonnet for getting Mandalore. If that was his thing, like, I want to live on Mandalore again. I want to live on Mandalore because I never did. Yeah. I want to get the Mandalorians together and live on Mandalore, and that's his happy ending. And you think, okay, at least he's working. At least the show's working towards something. Like, they could be like, right, let's. But he's just like, I want to be a Mandalorian again, and that was done in episode 2. I was like, oh, okay, he's happy now, is he? He's a Mandalorian again, so his quest is done. So now he's just a side character being like, I've done my bit. I finished my homework, so I'll help you guys.
Well, the thing is as well about that, you mentioned being on Mandalore and stuff like that. It was as well when they were like, oh yeah, he's not a pureblood, blah, 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 blah. I was expecting Bo-Katan to actually turn around and go, well, lol, he's actually been in the water, El Mandalore, have you? Like, But no, didn't mention that. Didn't mention that, technically done everything that a Mandalorian, should do, wants to do, should aspire to, as far as I was led to believe. But no, didn't mention any of that. It was just like, he's as much a Mandalorian as any of us. Wave fist.
Yeah, but it's like, okay. See, it's another thing, the Mandalorian doesn't make any sense, right? Like, if they take their helmet off, which is apparently the worst thing they can do, they can just go and bathe in the water. So when Mandalore was around, what stopped them just having their helmet off 24 hours a day and then once a week nipping in to get their bath time? Like, and is there a limit? Like, you can only do it once. You can only have one redemption.
Maybe that's how you get pure blood Mandalorians. You know, you take your helmet off, do the deed, go have a bath, put your hat back on.
Oh no, they've got to leave their helmet on while they're doing it. That makes them pure blood. Can't take your helmet off while you're doing it. Ding, 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 banging heads over. I think I'm having more fun watching the show, laughing at it now, which is just a sad thing. It's just a sad state of affairs, but it's like
you know it's bad when your wife was so excited to watch the third season, and that to me tells you how good the show was. Like, you know, she really wanted, and now she's a bit like me. She's like,
why we're watching this?
Am I supposed to be laughing at this? Is this funny? You know, what is it like?
All in all, I mean, I watched this. I watched it last night, so it's probably about 24 hours ago at this point, and I've generally forgotten most of it. I don't think I was even really absorbing it while it was happening. So by the time next week's episodes come out, I will have forgotten it all. Luckily, we'll get a really shitty recap, which won't explain anything, but we'll get it anyway.
Oh, they are the worst. They are the worst for the TV show. They give you a 5-second soundbite from season 1 or 2, and then it's like 10 seconds of the last episode. But because the last episode has literally no plot in it whatsoever,
can show the whole episode.
It is useless.
Yeah,
it is useless.
They could just re-show the whole last bit of this episode for next week, because that's the only thing that made had any difference. Like, because they have this thing of this washing over conflict that you think's going to happen. Like, I kept waiting for Bo-Katan to have conflict with the Mandalorian about their different cultures. That never happened. It just became best buzz instantly.
Nope.
And I think the same's going to happen with these Mandalorians. They're going to insta forget that they left Bo-Katan. She's going to insta forget that they left her, like when she didn't have the darksaber, which she never had really before. So they're going to forget all that and just be like, yeah, we're cool. We're all one big Mandalorian group now. And then even when the two Mandalorian groups are like the old way and the new way, or the traditional Mandalorian way and like the new way come together, I can guarantee you there'll be no conflict at all in them. They'll just be like accepting. Yeah, cool. These guys don't wear their helmets. And you're like, yeah, they wear their helmets.
Off we go.
Off you go. Just brush over that
Walk
conflict.
both worlds.
Yeah, you think these could be interesting conflicts, like, but they'll just not do it, and they don't have time. They don't have time to do it unless the last 2 episodes are 3 hours long each. There's just not enough time to do it. So,
Is there an actual run time for the last episodes? I'm going to check this.
You should be able to get them. But yeah, all in all, I think this episode stays in line with the rest of the episodes in that I think it was pointless, and although it was a bit of fun at the time, it's like drinking excessively. You know, you're enjoying it while it's happening, but you know while it's happening that tomorrow you're gonna feel a bit shit, and then tomorrow you feel shit, but then you're like, next week you go, you know what, I'm gonna have a few drinks again, and you just do it to yourself again. That's what watching The Mandalorian is like. You know it's bad for you, but I keep doing it, and I know I'm going to feel rubbish. Do you like it?
I'm just trying to see if I could work out. Like, I'm not finding it quickly. I was wanting to try and find out to see if they are going to do like 2 long episodes, and maybe this is it. Overall, that episode, I think, if it had been in a normal season, like 1 or 2, you know, that quality of season, I think it would have been placed in the middle. It would have been a nice distraction. I think the cameos were really good. I would have been able to gauge if I was able to laugh more, because I wouldn't have been constantly looking for... I think that was the thing I've got an issue with, is I'm constantly looking for plot where there is none. Mm-hmm. Like, I watch it for entertainment. I shouldn't be making a job out of it. You know, I should be just going, oh yeah, here's the plot. okay, here's a subplot. They're going off and doing this thing, but I can relax a bit because I know what's happening. And I think that was the problem. I think all the way through the Skyrim-esque plot or quest that they went on, is I was like, hang on a minute, do I need to pay attention here? Is there something going on? Is something going to happen? Is this, for instance, is this city a front for something? Are they like puppets? Constantly going
like
a million
Cloud
miles an
City?
hour. Yeah, and I'm just like sitting there, just going, oh no, it is actually just them doing a random quest before they gain access to a field.
Yeah, it just made
and it's such a disappointment. Yeah, just an absolute disappointment.
Complete disappointment. I agree. The episode was a fun watch visually. Again, some cool things, but on the surface, made zero sense in every way. None of the story made any sense. Almost everything was questionable. However, it was like a fun parody. It's like when you get episodes of TV shows where the character is purposefully taken out of their normal comfort zone and placed somewhere that is silly, but only they know that it's silly, and they're having to like sort of interact seriously around the world.
Do you know what I think you're referencing? If I can jump in, are you up to date with Ted Lasso at the moment? Like you've seen season 2, haven't you?
I've seen season 2. Yeah. I've only watched the first 2 episodes.
So do you know Beard's episode where you follow Beard?
Yes.
That is an example I think that works. It was well thought out. It was different from the norm, but you knew where you stood because you picked up very quickly what was happening. So you were able to just kind of let your mind drift off and enjoy the episode for what it was.
It's like they were put into a situation like it was they were being held captive, or it was a simulation, and they were being watched by someone to see how would they react, because everyone was acting stupid and nothing made any sense, but they have to solve the plot in order to end the simulation. I feel like that was what was going on, and it just So I kind of hated it, but at the same time, I did enjoy it as much as I enjoy anyone falling on their face. This is the you've been framed of TV. It's like you're watching someone get kicked in the nuts, and you think, I shouldn't enjoy this, but I also think it's hilarious. Like, this is awful, but also quite funny.
You can't look away.
I can't look away. It's a definite definition of a train crash. So any final thoughts?
I just wish I knew why. Yeah, my final thought is I just wish I knew why they were doing it like this. I've now got to the bit where I just want to know what the end game is, because I'm almost at the bit like I'll still watch because of the falling on the face aspect of it, and also there's only 2 episodes left, so I might as well. But yeah, I just want to know why I'm watching this. It sounds harsh, but
I want to know that. Yeah,
what is going on? Someone please tell me.
I need to see this now to the end, because I hatefully think that this possibly could be the end, but I just want to see like if there's going to be some magic, and it would have to be an absolute magic twist at the end that makes us maybe the Mandalorians were always in on it with Moff Gideon, and they were just sort of gaslighting Jin the whole time. Like Bo-Katan was the real villain, and she was just pushing him in a direction, like trying to take over the Mandalorians secretly from she joined them to overthrow them or some mad shit. But I just don't see it happening.
That's an interesting theory. Was
she like contacted by Moff Gideon and paid to infiltrate the Mandalorians and somehow take them or get them to join him? Like when she's in charge, will she then move over to join Moff Gideon, and then Jin has to beat Bo-Katan and win the Darksaber back, and then win the Mandalorians back? Who knows? That could work, but I don't believe that. I still would hate it because they haven't earned it on these last 7 episodes. So
I've got to see it to the end now.
Got to see it to the end.
I don't think there's going to be. It's either going to be somehow, and I don't know how they'll do it. It'll be some amazing plot twist, or no. It's just going to be like, Moff Gideon's still about.
Yeah.
Here you go kill him. Dun, dun. And that's season 4.
I think they have this fear there that Moff Gideon's not going to appear until the end of the season, and he's going to then be presented as season 4's villain, and season 3 is basically just going to be a weird write-off, like pointless, like complete. We're going to realize that it was actually completely pointless, and they were only really setting up season 4. But on that note, I think we should call that. I was
going to say you were really meaning you were going to go on a rant. You really meant you were going to go on a rant.
I've talked more about this episode than the episode was even on, I think. So I think we've fixed Mandalorian. If only they would watch this. So Dave Filoni, if you're watching, take note. I'm sure you are. Take note. But on that note, we will wait and see what next week brings, and fingers crossed it can improve.
Fingers crossed, indeed.
Right. Cheerio.
Catch you later.